Welcome to the Goodfellas podcast. I'm Jack.
And I'm Aiden.
This is just a podcast. We're going to talk about some stuff, have some fun. We think we're funny. We're definitely not, but who cares? It's our podcast. You have no control over us.
Exactly.
You ready to start, Aiden?
Oh, of course. I'm always ready.
Let's begin. What do you think about this TikTok situation?
Oh, it's definitely not about TikTok. I'm just saying. I think that the government just wants to censor the internet.
Ooh.
That's definitely what it is.
Ooh, scandalous take.
I mean, is that a surprise coming from the U.S. government? Come on now. Let's get serious.
No, but I mean, also the thing about it, though. Like, I think I already told you this in a previous encounter with you. That I feel like forgetting about, like, the legal ramifications of TikTok and just kind of, like, what it's actually, like, why they're banning it. I think it's honestly better for people of our generation, though, because, like I told you already, I'll sometimes be going to bed and I find myself on it for like an hour and a half. You know,
yeah, I get what you're saying, but that's not really the point of what I mean.
I know what you're saying. You're saying for more of like in terms of like, is it really in the government's power to do that? Should the government be able to do that? Is it normal? What I'm saying is, in terms of the practical effect of it, it's probably a good idea.
That's a fair point, but let me put it to you this way: the bill they're trying to propose to ban it. It's going to censor everything, pretty much. It's basically saying anything they find harmful, they can censor. So, that's a very broad thing to say. Like, what do they find harmful? That depends on who's in power.
Yeah, but I also feel like this is more of this is one of those issues, though, as much as I think that your opinion is definitely popular, it's surprisingly very, I feel, bipartisan. Like if you go into a town and it's half Republican, half Democrat, I guarantee you that the majority of both sides of parents want their kids off TikTok.
Well, that's a fair argument to make, and I agree.
Feel like, and I get what you're saying, but I feel like in terms of support behind your side of the issue, meaning like it's overreach of government power, I just feel like it's not going to be there because so many people just want their kids or themselves. Like I need someone to stop my time on TikTok, because I'm not going to delete it, because then I'm just going to re-download it. But what happens if I can't re-download it, Yeah,
that's a fair argument to make. I guess what I mean is basically, I'm not worried about them banning TikTok as much as I am what this bill is. Because I feel like it's more of an excuse just to do more stuff when it comes to, like, regulating the internet however they see fit. So, banning TikTok is one thing. If they want to do that, fine. But this bill is just a major overreach, if you ask me.
I mean, I think people also forget, though, that as much as, obviously, we're a very free country, and, there's problems, but we definitely have one of the widest, markets of philosophy and ideas. But, we do censor things. Like, there's apps that have been censored, especially, like, WeChat. That was censored because it's, I think, ties to China, I think it was. Books, there are banned books in the United States. So I just feel like some things just, after time, they'll get old. Like, if let's just say TikTok was banned tomorrow, in 50 years, will people really care about TikTok? No. If it was completely taken out of society, would people really care about it?
I get what you're saying, but I guess my main worry is the fact that, like, I get wanting to censor harmful content, but my biggest problem is what is going to be considered harmful content from now on.
No, yeah, I get that.
Because, I'm worried that they're going to censor political free speech and any other form of free speech that they don't like. But I am worried about, like, them censoring what just ordinary people have the right to say.
Yeah. Kind of in the same realm, but a little different. What do you think about the rise of artificial intelligence, especially like ChatGPT, which I'm sure every kid is familiar with?
I think it's terrifying, and also it's not because... Alright, let me put it to you this way. It has the potential to be incredibly harmful, but the majority of Americans are really stupid, so they're not going to be using it for harmful purposes.
Well, I think the thing is, though, it's harmful in two different ways. So it's harmful in the fact that people like humans can use it for harmfulness, but then you also have like this dystopian, like Terminator-esque idea, kind of like if you give these things so much, like, we know that they're capable of thinking on their own, right? That's literally what artificial intelligence is. Like, if you're giving them power beyond imagine, what if they're going to start thinking on their own, what are they going to start thinking that they're going to use it for? You know, like the machines themselves. I actually saw this thing this morning on the news, and it was like this guy who I guess used to work for Facebook or Twitter, I don't know, and then he started his own thing, but he was basically saying, like, you wouldn't give, like, if we had like a new country, right, and we knew that the country was, perfect example, use Germany for instance after World War II, right? Everyone was like, we're not going to in any way kind of like help them become like a major, we forbid them from becoming a major power again. But then we also were like, we're not going to just push them right into the ground like we did after World War I, because that's how World War II happened. So it's kind of like you have to balance it. Like, would you give a country that you know is capable of a lot of harm, you know, kind of like Germany after World War II, so much power, but you also don't want to suppress it because it could be, you know, eventually could be a force of good. So, like, I feel like there's this, like, two-parter argument, you know?
I understand exactly what you're saying. I guess you got to look at it from a few perspectives. Like, first of all, what is it capable of? And second of all, what it can be used for like, the worst-case scenario.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean it has the potential to completely destroy the music industry and the artists who do everything there. Because I've seen that AI has been able to perfectly replicate certain people's voices. Like, some guy was talking and he was able to sound exactly just like Kanye West. And it's crazy how some of it sounds. It sounds just like them. And just adding the fact that, like, basically, some of it, you can make everybody look like it. It's crazy what artificial intelligence can do and has the ability to do.
There's AI stuff, like, I didn't even know about until, like, yesterday. I was looking, I was kind of researching a little bit. And, like, I've told you my love for the show, The Blacklist.
Oh, you never stop telling me.
There's actually an episode, as I'm in, like, season 7 it is now. And
7? Already?
And you know when I binge, man. There's an episode, though, it's season 7, where season 7, where there's this guy who has ALS, right? And he basically can't talk. He has a machine, kind of like a Stephen Hawking-esque kind of guy, you know. He has to, like, talk through a machine. And before he got this, he builds this like AI that's literally, it's not like an actual moving thing, but it's artificial intelligence. It's based on a server. It's based on a computer, and the computer, like, he created this, like, because, like, when you create AI, you give it a sole purpose. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my understanding of it. So basically, this thing with sole purpose was, quote unquote, it's like kind of dramatized, but to save human life, right? That was the point of this AI. So I don't know what he was planning on doing with it. Maybe in hospitals. I don't know. But eventually, the AI realizes that basically what it's doing puts human life in jeopardy. So he kills the guy because he has control of his, like, his medical system, since he's fully paralyzed, and he just turns off his life support. Like, that's crazy, and that's actually, like, real. Like, that could happen. So, like, that's insane, you know? Like, giving a computer that much power.
That is scary to think about when you put it in that perspective.
But I also think it's cool, though. Like, I'm saying, like, think about it. You go on, even, like, ChatGPT, which is AI, but it's nowhere near the AI that we've been talking about. You go on, like, ChatGPT, like, it's like it's like talking to a human that has information about everything. You know, like, it just starts rattling it off, and it's just kind of like, I mean, it's flawed, but it's cool.
You know what is one thing I saw a couple memes on that is actually kind of scary to think about, though? Like, ChatGPT, you can use it basically to get any information or do a bunch of shit, and especially for essays, you can use it. Yeah. I saw someone make a meme that said, "Me in the hospital dying because my doctor used ChatGPT to pass his essays."
Exactly. Like, what is?
Yeah.
I mean, if kids are using this, like, to submit stuff, or, like, I mean, granted, though, and I'll let you continue a second, which is, like, you can also compare it to, I mean, kids have been sharing homework cheating on stuff forever. So, like, is ChatGPT really that much different?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, when, like, in the past, a lot of people were cheating, at least one person was smart. Like, now it's just the internet.
Exactly. That's a good point. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so basically, we're breeding basically the internet is naturally selecting human beings. Basically, so the people that are just stupid are going to become even more dumb because they're just going to rely on ChatGPT. They're going to rely on other AI stuff, and ChatGPT is not going to become dumb or it's not becoming smarter. It's going to remain constant, or it could become smarter. And then the people that are already smart, which are going to be very few left, that didn't rely on ChatGPT, they're eventually going to die out. It's like natural selection by internet.
What a way to go.
Indeed. Well, on the topic of the internet, kind of video games and stuff, what do you think of the Star Wars Ubisoft game?
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm very excited for what it could be.
Yeah.
Because, let me put it to you this way. I hear Star Wars open world, I get excited. I hear Ubisoft, I lose all my hope.
So, here's my problem with that whole thing, though. Like, people have a problem with Ubisoft, I get it. But, maybe I have an unpopular opinion. Like, I know that a few other people share my opinion. But, like, some of the Tom Clancy games, like, those games were pretty good. Like, Rainbow Six Siege? That was a pretty top-tier game. Like, it's not like a Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not a GTA 5. It's not, I wouldn't even say it's a Battlefront 2, but it was still a pretty good game. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You're saying, but I'm saying, comparing it to, like, the recent products, I'm not very hopeful.
I get that. And the other thing is, they're not known for their open world games, Like, if I heard a Star Wars open world game from Rockstar, like, we're talking highly detailed games, Yeah,
because, you and I suck up to Rockstar so much all the time.
If you had to give a hope, kind of like your dream Star Wars Ubisoft open world game, what are we thinking?
Thinking something like, almost like an open world, sort of similar to, like, No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Combat sort of similar to, like, Fallen Order.
Okay, yeah.
And I want more Force powers similar to, like, The Force Awakens. Not The Force Awakens, The Force Unleashed.
Great game, Force Unleashed. Love that.
It genuinely was. I want a new Star Wars game where you could choose to be, like, a Jedi, Sith, bounty hunter, whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, you could just absolutely destroy people. Like, I want to be able to ram someone with the Millennium Falcon.
The funny thing is like, I feel like just like if you took an open world style. Now, I like your comparison, but I also think like in terms of just kind of like if you just took like Red Dead, because we love Red Dead, right? And you literally just made it Star Wars. Obviously, it's not going to be as good because you want different worlds, right? More than just different like areas of a map. But like if you had different worlds, like you want that kind of freedom. Like I don't know, but I want that freedom. Like I want to be able to like walk into the general store on Tatooine. I want to be able to just ram a guy with my cruiser. You know what I'm saying? Or like
I imagine going into Mos Eisley and then killing everyone in there.
Exactly. Just like I want to be able to just like see an Imperial cruiser and start attacking, kind of like you can just attack like the sheriff station in Red Dead. Like I want a lot of freedom. I don't want freedom where there's no story. I want there to be just like Red Dead. But you want this. You want freedom.
Yeah, because like, let me put it in comparison to a game you and I have been playing recently, like Far Cry 5.
Yeah.
That game has a ton of freedom, but the problem is sometimes there's so much freedom you have no idea what you're doing.
Exactly. Like I think sometimes I can't say it right. Far Cry 5 is a great game, and when there is a clear mission, like it's fun. But like I agree with you. Sometimes you're like, what am I supposed to do? Whereas like Red Dead, like you know exactly what you're doing. So I think if you have a good mix between freedom and missions like you do in Red Dead, but also that really good type of combat, like you said in Fallen Order, because that combat was really good.
It was.
I think you have a great game.
You really could. The problem is, like, a lot of these studios, they've just been releasing really crappy, buggy games, and I don't trust them.
I know.
Like,
sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I know you and I love Battlefront 2, but when it first came out, it was like a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I remember that. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm not worried about this game because like I feel like you're only gonna kind of get a shot at this once, Like, if you get an open world game, they're not going to come out with another one for like 20 years.
Probably not.
So, I mean, like, I'm worried about it, but I also feel like if they do it right, it has a lot of potential.
If you do an open Star Wars game, like an open world Star Wars game, right, you have the potential to make the best game ever made.
I know. On the topic of Star Wars, I know we talk about this a lot, but I kind of want your official public opinion on the sequels.
Worst piece of Star Wars ever made.
What was that?
Worst piece of Star Wars ever made.
I agree, without a doubt.
Like, I feel like the sequels had so much potential, but they tried to elevate all their characters by taking a fat dump on all the original trilogy characters.
Exactly. Yep. I agree.
And the worst part is all their new characters suck.
Exactly. Yep. Like, and it's nothing to do with, like, people always like, you don't like it because Rey's the main character, and that's like women. I have no problem with that. She's just a horrible character.
Exactly.
Like, you tell me she's just a Jedi in 2 days. Like if Leia was a main character of a movie, that's awesome. I love Leia. Like, she's a great character.
Everybody loves Leia. And what about like Ahsoka Tano?
Exactly. I'm saying I hate that argument. It's like, you don't like the movies because Rey's the main character. I can give less of a shit who's the main character. I just want a good main character. She's a horrible main character.
It's like, imagine if in the first movie, after Obi-Wan died, Luke picked up the lightsaber of Obi-Wan and just beat Darth Vader immediately.
Exactly. Like, he was barely ready to go up against... He was barely ready when he left Yoda. Remember, he was questioning. Yoda's kind of, like, looking at him like, oh, God, this kid's dead. Like, it was not like he was, like, this Jedi master immediately.
And he's supposed to be the son of the most powerful Jedi to have ever existed.
Exactly. And Rey picks her lightsaber and she's like, I'm the best one now. Like... it bothers me in so many different directions.
Like, let me put it to you this way. I think they had the best storyline ever, not ever in Star Wars, but the best storyline for a sequel set up with Finn being a stormtrooper turned Jedi. That could have been a really cool dynamic, and then they fucking forgot Finn existed. Exactly.
And then the other thing was, like, my problem with the sequels, and I told you this before, is that they literally made it seem like there was no point of having the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Like, we have this awesome ending in Return of the Jedi, the Ewok celebration. Everybody's happy. The remastered version of Anakin comes back. And then all of a sudden, we get to the sequels, and the Empire version 2 is back.
I think probably what makes me the most upset is that Anakin's sacrifice meant nothing.
Exactly. Like, they're literally back to where we started. Like, it's so enraging that Star Wars would just kind of... basically, the whole work of the original trilogy was just a complete waste of time.
I know. Like, I just hate it. There's so many stories. Like, Star Wars Legends, right?
Yes.
So... I've seen a lot of the stories from there. Some are really good, and some are bad. Like, there was one called Dark Empire that was not great, but in that story's defense, it came out before the prequels, so I'll cut it some slack. Yeah. But there was a lot of great Star Wars stories, like Luke rebuilding the Jedi Temple and basically creating a whole new order. And there's so many great stories and so many cool characters, like... you remember that episode in the Clone Wars with the Force gods, right? On Mortis?
Yes.
Well, in Legends, there was a character called the Mother, and she was basically like a Force god who absorbed the light and the dark side and became an evil monster. And Luke and his Prime had to team up with a bunch of Sith Lords in order to beat her.
That is pretty
cool. It was a pretty cool story to watch. And there's so many of those stories in Legends, and instead they tried to make their own watered-down story. Because... as much as you could say The Force Awakens was good, you have to acknowledge it was just A New Hope, but not as good.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Like, when I first saw the sequels, I saw all of them, like, when they came out. I think they all came around on Christmas. I saw them in the movie theater.
Yeah, like 2017 Christmas, I think.
Yeah. Like, when the first one came out, Force Awakens, I saw the movie theater, and I was like... I was with my uncle, and I swear to you, I turned to him, and I said... I thought maybe they were remaking the original trilogy. I go, is this like an alternate trilogy? And he goes, no, this is after Return of the Jedi. I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why are we going back to the Death Star? It was like, I was so like confused and then further enraged when I found out this was the sequel. So I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Like, Arguably, the worst movie in the original trilogy, which is still an incredible movie, mind you, is Return of the Jedi. And one thing a lot of people complained about was the fact that they just did another Death Star.
Exactly.
Now,
yeah.
2 Death Stars is a lot. 3 is just, okay, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. If you could, like, what are your wants for the future of Star Wars? You want to just scrap the sequels, restart? Do you want to like try to salvage them? What do you think Star Wars should do? Because clearly, I'm going to say that the very high majority of Star Wars fans are not behind the sequels. So, what do you think they should do?
All right, let me just say this: there's no saving the sequels. It had some of the worst writing, and like George Lucas gets clowned on for his bad dialogue. At least he didn't do like a romance like Rey and Kylo Ren. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I think, like, I've seen the I like sand, or I don't like sand dialogue, and I think that's better than that. Like,
Exactly.
it was bad.
Yeah.
So, honestly, the way they're going with their shows right now is pretty good, I gotta admit. Like,
I
The Mandalorian's very good, but the problem is, you can definitely see it in the shows. They're trying to tie it into the sequels, and it's not working. It's making fans really upset. Like, in the Book of Boba Fett, in one episode, like, Luke tells, Grogu, or Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call him, he's like, alright, here's what you can do. You can either, have this thing from The Mandalorian, an attachment, or you can be a Jedi. And then when Grogu chooses the thing from The Mandalorian, he basically just lets him leave. Like, the real Luke Skywalker, if you ask me, he, at least in Legends, lets people have attachments because he sees that basically trying to disconnect people from stuff like that is what caused the Jedi Order to fail.
Exactly.
So he tries to make a whole new one that'll be better and won't lead to the same arrogance and downfall of, like, the original Jedi. Because, like, look at Mace Windu. I'm sorry, like, I hate Mace Windu. He is the worst Jedi to have ever existed. Yeah. He's everything the Jedi shouldn't be. I'm just saying, man. Yeah. Like, if he had just waited for Yoda to come back, Palpatine would have been one-shotted.
Exactly. He was very, what's that word? I'm drawing a blank of the word, but it's, he basically on the spot. Like, he didn't wait for anybody. He just did what he wants.
Yeah, he's very rash.
Rash, yes, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this future of Star Wars is definitely questionable, without a doubt.
I mean, I think it's got a lot of potential. I mean, and this brings it back to kind of like the AI stuff. They're apparently going to do a Luke Skywalker show. Mm-hmm. And one thing you can talk about is the fact that, like, with certain shows, like, you're not going to be recasting characters or having new actors. It's just going to be, like, Mark Hamill's face over some guy. Exactly, and it makes you wonder, is the actor going to get any credit, or is it Mark Hamill who's going to be getting the majority of the credit?
That's true. That's another thing. It's kind of like, do we want... I love the original trilogy. Like, I can watch it any day, any time, and I hate the sequels. And because I hate that the fact they just try to introduce all these new characters that nobody likes. But my problem is, like, with them trying to bring back the original trilogy, is that, like, do I just want to watch a computer, reimagine Moff Gideon like it did? Like, I don't know if I want to see that. I love the old movies, but I don't know if I want to see these computer designs of, people that are now dead. Like Leia, for instance. Like, unfortunately, she passed away, but, like, I've been saying, I think at some point, eventually those characters actually have to go away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I want to see a constant computer, a computer design of a person that's now dead. You know what I'm saying? That's
kind of like what makes me so annoyed with, like, the sequels, because they had one chance to use those actors for, like, another show, like one last reunion, and they ruined it. They absolutely butchered it. Yeah. So it's like, we're never going to see Luke Skywalker in his prime again. We're never going to see him as, like, an old, wise Jedi Master. Exactly. We're just never going to see any of that stuff, like Han, Leia, and Luke reunion. We're never going to see it. And that's probably what makes me the most upset with the sequels.
Indeed. All right. I think we covered a lot of ground today. What do you think?
I think that was a pretty good first episode for the podcast.
I think so, too. Thank you guys all for listening, and we'll be back when we're back.
See you, boys.